What up, everybody? It's Chris Roscoe. This is Operation Moksha, and I wanted to make a video telling you exactly what the fuck I'm doing and why I'm doing it. Because I'm starting to meet a lot of new people, and there's just more people viewing my shit, and so I feel like it's important for me to say exactly what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, so that everybody can know exactly where I stand. Because I want to accomplish something, and I want to know who is aligned with this goal, and I want to know who isn't. And if you aren't somebody who's aligned with this goal, then I want to know why. To be completely honest, I want to see if you have a good point, because I might not have thought shit through all the way, and so I want to check. But basically, I don't want to use the word life coach because that has just a weird connotation to it. But I help people figure themselves out. I help people figure out who they are, what they want out of life, how they can contribute, and how they can be happy long term. And I do this because I want to change the world, as cheesy and cliche and terrible as that sounds. I really do. And I want to change the world in a very specific way, because I think mental health is actually the answer to most of our problems, or at least it's a gateway to solving the ones that it doesn't directly solve. Because in my head, all of our problems are essentially emotional in nature, whether it's greed or fear or hatred, or just blocking out everyone else's suffering so you don't have to worry about it. Like, this is all emotional stuff, and more often than not, actually, I'm tempted to say every time, but it's essentially about the parts of ourselves that we don't want to feel. And so that's why I'm like all up on this like shadow work thing. Like, I'm all hyped on it, because I think that's the answer to a lot of our fucking problems, especially the political things that we're dealing with right now, where both sides are just getting crazier and crazier every day, and things are escalating. There's violence in the streets, and then the violence in the streets gets answered by more violence in the streets. And I personally don't really like where that's going, and I'd like to do something about it. And I know there's a lot of people out there that feel the same way. And the crazy thing about it is there's a lot of people that feel the same way, but they don't talk about it. And so when I started putting, like my opinions and my thoughts out there, most of the support I got was in private. Like, people would send me messages and stuff telling me how much they supported me, whereas I would never know by looking at their stuff, because they wouldn't say it, and they wouldn't say it publicly. So I would think that nobody was supporting me, but there's actually a whole fucking audience for this stuff. And so learning that and finding out that there's more people, I just keep meeting more people that really want to find a balanced way to look at the world. And a lot of them seem to have the same kind of like mental health practices, I guess, because I'm gonna tell you a little story real quick. So I used to have really bad mental health problems from the time I was 7 to the time I was like 28, and I'm 32 now. So about 4 years ago is when I was kind of in the clear. And I had a super fractured psyche. Like, I was the type of guy where I used to be really selfish and really just, I used to just be a more or less horrible guy. Just do whatever I want, fuck what anybody thinks, fuck what anybody feels. Like, I'm going to do what I want and get what I want. And that was me for a while. And then I swung hard in the opposite direction, and I was like, I'm going to be really good to other people and fuck what I want, like, because I'm a jerk off. I should take care of everyone else. And that was cool and all. Like, I had the moral high ground and all that, but it was driving me insane in a different way. And so I had to learn how to integrate the two. I had to learn how to be a good person and care about other people while still having my drive and my ambition and my desires and the things that I care and my boundaries, and be able to stand up for myself and all that shit. I had to balance the two. And as I learned how to balance the two drives, I started to notice a lot of similarities in my internal world and the world around me. I started to notice that the political spectrum was kind of a representation of the psychological split I was experiencing. You had people on the left that are so worried about taking care of other people that they don't necessarily think about the dangers that, kindness could bring by not having strong boundaries and not actually saying, like, how much can I afford to give, instead of just saying we should give everything because we're super jolly good people. You have to actually consider, like, what can I give and what are the implications of that and all that stuff. And so it's good to want to take care of other people. That drive is healthy as fuck, but there are potential downsides. And then these people over here are so worried about us, like America, the us. They want to make sure that America is dope, like a make America great again. Like, sure, some people think that means make it white again, racist, whatever. I don't think so. I think conservatives really just want to feel pride in their country again. I think they want to feel good about where they live and have that whole like superhero kind of punk rock American ethos. Like, we're going to fucking do what we want because we are awesome and we kick ass. And just by thinking that, you make a whole nation of really dope people, and we've done really cool stuff. So I'm pretty down with that. But you have to balance the two. And I would notice that people would divide up on these lines. The people that were more worried about themselves would go on this side, and the people that were more worried about other people would go on this side, and they would not listen to each other, and they would yell about which one was better, not realizing that they actually had two important pieces of a whole story that, you know, could come together and create a really balanced outlook. And so as I balanced myself out, I started to notice that I was getting in arguments and disagreements with people that hadn't gone through that experience, and I was starting to see like a lot of stuff that I hadn't seen before. It was kind of alarming. But then I started to notice that other people were having that experience as well, and it was really fascinating to me. And so I started taking a look more and more at how my internal world is a representation of our external world, and it just seems really fucking clear. It seems really clear that we're heading in a certain direction where we can either choose to have a psychotic breakdown, or we can integrate. Or that was a weird way to say that word. Or we can integrate. And I, for one, would like to integrate rather than have a collective psychotic breakdown. That doesn't sound so fun to me. And so that's essentially why I'm doing what I'm doing, because whatever morality is for you, whatever right and wrong is for you, you know, there's going to be natural parts of your personality that aren't being included. And so I'm not going to tell you how to think. I have no interest in telling you what right or wrong is. What I have interest in is, I think I said that right. What I'm interested in is, how well does your mind work? Do you look yourself in the eye, in the mirror, and like what you see? When someone gives you a compliment, can you take it? Are you creative? Do you sleep well at night? Are you proud of yourself? Do you feel like you have good relationships with other people? Whatever your natural weaknesses are, so to speak, or whatever your problems are, will almost always point to some part of your psyche that needs to be integrated. And then when you integrate that piece of yourself, you suddenly become nicer to everyone else who is in the same place you were. And so you really do kind of create this chain reaction of harmony. You get your internal world into harmony, and anybody who's ever reminded you of any negative part of yourself, you'll be able to deal with better because you understand that part of yourself and you can deal with it better. So mental health for me is a way, by helping people get their mental health in order, which is I think what everybody wants. We're all depressed, we're all anxious, we're all fucking riddled with PTSD, and we all got problems. And if we can just get our minds right and be creative and happy and have good relationships and all that shit, then people that are happy don't really have a whole lot of interest in fighting, I've noticed. They generally just want to make things and they want to help. And I think that's cool. But in order to do that, we do have to do some work. We have to look at our shadows. We have to look at the parts of ourselves that we reject. We have to look at the opposite of morality. We have to accept the parts of other people that we hate the most. And so that's what I wanted to do, is I wanted to create kind of a thing where we could look at social issues and politics and philosophy and mental health from this lens of like, how do we integrate all the things so that we're taking everything into consideration? How do we integrate all the things so that we're not hating people who think differently than us and then end up hating ourselves because it's all connected, and you can't hate a person without hating yourself, because where's that hate going to go? It's going to go in here. And so that's suddenly your hate that you're feeling now, and it's going to mess up your psyche as if you were hating yourself. It's going to function the same fucking way, and it's going to cause problems. So how do we deal with the worst parts of humanity in a healthy, positive way? How do we deal with the worst parts of ourselves in a healthy, positive way where we can actually create change and make the world better? That's what I'm interested in finding out. And so we're going to talk about politics, and we're going to talk about social issues, and we're going to talk about mental health, and we're going to talk about all of it, because it all ties together to figure out how we can all be sane and come through this. Because the thing about like this level of conflict, like it either escalates to the point where it gets so unmanageable that you just fucking break down and you have to rebuild, or you wise up and you integrate. And I think there are more people in the middle that are wising up and willing to integrate than a lot of us think. I know I was misled as to how many like reasonable people there are. I thought that I was the only reasonable person, you know, like that meme of like everybody on the bus thinking that like, wow, everyone's fucking crazy and I'm the only smart guy. I used to think that, but then I started being more vocal about what I thought and what I felt and what mattered to me to a wider range of people. And I found that there's actually a lot more support for reasonableness and dialogue and balance and really like true compassion and healthy boundaries and all these things, but done from an integrated perspective. And so that's what I'm interested in exploring. And you are likely to have pieces to this puzzle that I don't have. So if I leave something out or if I say something wrong or whatever, like has to be a collaborative thing, because I can't talk about integrating different perspectives if I'm not willing to integrate yours. And I absolutely am willing to integrate yours, because there's no way I've gotten this figured out. I'm a 32-year-old guy who's only been able to use his brain actively for 4 years. That's ridiculous. There's no way I thought of all of it. So I'm gonna need help. And that's where you guys are going to come in. So let's make this a group effort. Let's have dialogue. Let's set an example for how we can do dialogue. Let's set an example for how many different kinds of people from different thought groups or whatever can cohabitate and find collective truth within their ranks. Like, I want to do all that. So let's do that. And if you want to do that, then stick around. And if you don't want to do that, well, why not, I guess? You don't have to, but like I'd be super curious as to why you wouldn't want to do that. Maybe you have a point, maybe you don't, I don't know. But I just wanted to make it absolutely clear what I'm up to so that you can know what to expect and you can decide how much of that you want to support. Because I want the support of people who generally want to be here. And I want the support of people who really want to be a part of these conversations, because this is important to me. And I think it's important to a lot of other people. And I want to maintain the integrity of that kind of support structure by making sure that I'm absolutely clear about what I'm doing, so that people who feel the same way I do can have something to rally around, you know, and not a war cry or anything. I'm not telling you to go like smash the libs and beat up conservatives. It's like this isn't another gang. That's not what this is. This isn't another gang. This is a bunch of people talking about stuff and trying to figure out what the best way to live individual lives in a society of other human beings is. This is an exploration. So let's all do this together. And I'm rambling, so I'm going to go. I love you. Thank you for being here. And yeah, bye.